Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Do We Get Here podcast, the YouTube edition. Now, I know that this isn't technically How Do We Get Here podcast because we're not showing you all episodes or full episodes, just going to give you snippets here and there. This is kind of a behind the scenes, our thinking into creating each episode and where it's at moving forward. Now, the show is also really in conjunction with Just a Reyes Media, which is my undertaking as I cover a few different podcasts and YouTube channels. You can find out more by visiting justareyes.com. You can also go to my Instagram, Just a Reyes, or you can follow this show in particular at How Do We Pod on TikTok and on Instagram. Again, I am your host, Justin Reyes. You have my brother, Brandon Reyes, who will pop in from time to time. He's not with me today. If you follow the show, you understand that he has a scheduling conflict right now, but he should be moving back to his other schedule here pretty soon, and then we'll get these things kind of sorted out. Now, this episode I'm talking about is now episode 15. I talked about it before, how the quality and audio shift between episode 14 and 15. That is because we upgrade our equipment. We have the Rode Pod mics now. We have the new headphones so we can listen to how we sound. We also have the Rodecaster Pro, and the Rodecaster Pro is really what does it because it mixes both of our mics and it amplifies them. Also allows us to have a soundboard to add various elements as far as like a theme song or different sounds and noises. I can also adjust the sound of the mic so you can hear me, not hear me. And I can adjust his sound. I can add music from my phone or noise from my phone or iPad or computer and blend them all into the episodes. It helps out a lot. So for the opener of this episode, before we talk about what the episode is about, we visit Shrek. So, as if you know, again, you follow the YouTube and you follow the podcast, you understand that we do kind of a skit or sketch at the beginning of every episode. This one, we wanted to do Shrek. Well, Brandon did. Brandon was very, very excited about this one. He's been sitting on it for a while as we talked about upgrading our equipment. Again, the Rodecaster Pro was a big part of it, and Shrek scene kind of fit perfectly. Beyond this, episodes 16, 17, 18, the rest of the Marvel run, as we do a 4-part MCU run, we're seen from the Marvel Universe, but this one again is Shrek. So I want to play it for you now, and then we're going to start talking about the MCU or Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that Deadpool trash poisoning my perfect show. Now tell me, where can I find it?
Eat me too.
I've tried to be fair to you creatures. Now my patience has reached its end. Tell me or I'll...
No, not the buttons. Not my Deadpool buttons.
All right then. Who's hiding it?
Okay, I'll tell you. Do you know the Weasel Man?
The Weasel Man?
The Weasel Man.
Yes, I know the Weasel Man who lives on St. Margaret Lane.
Well, she's married to the Weasel Man.
The Weasel Man?
The Weasel Man.
She's married to the Weasel Man.
My lord, we found it.
Well, what are you waiting for? Bring it in. Magic mirror.
Don't tell him anything. Oh.
Evening. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Is this not the most perfect podcast studio of them all?
Well, technically, you're not a podcaster.
Brandonius. You were saying?
What I mean to say is that you're not a podcaster yet, but you can become one. All you have to do is buy better equipment.
Go on.
So just sit back and relax, my lord, because it's time for you to meet today's eligible podcasting studio sets. And here they are. Studio set number 1 is for mentally abused shut-ins in a studio far, far away. Can be used while eating sushi or hot tubbing anytime. Good for shows about cooking and cleaning for 2 evil sisters. Please welcome Zoom 8. Studio set number 2 are for cape-wearing tales in the land of fantasy. Although you can do shows with 7 other men, it's not easy. Just play your dead frozen tracks and see what a live wire they are. Come on, give it up for Icon QCon Pro. And last, but certainly not least, Studio set number 3 has a fiery mic set from a dragon-molded mixer making tracks like hot boiling lava. But don't let that cool you off. It's a loaded pistol, perfect for recording while drinking pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. Here for the listening, Rodecaster Pro. So will it be Studio set number 1, Studio set number 2, or Studio set number 3? No, 3. 3. Pick number 3, my lord.
Number three.
Lord Justquad, you've chosen Rodecaster Pro.
I feel like pina coladas.
Ding, 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 ding. I
feel like making love at midnight in the dunes of the cave. I'm the one that you wish for. Come with me and escape.
Now, in episode 15, we discussed the entirety of phases 1 and 2 with, again, a Captain Marvel twist. Because Captain Marvel is out of her timeline, we went as far as the chronological order as far as the timeline goes within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not within real life. Marvel Universe, or Captain Marvel was released during phase 3, but for the timeline purposes, we're talking about her in phase 1. I'm not going to talk about phases 1 and 2. It'd take too long for the show, for the YouTube side, which I'm trying to keep a little bit shorter. What I will talk about, though, is the entirety of phase 1 with, again, Captain Marvel twist. Now, the Infinity Saga, which we will cover over these next few episodes of YouTube. I'm going to separate this into 2, probably do the next for the next 3. So we're looking at an 8-episode run as far as the MCU goes on the YouTube side. The Infinity Saga, though, it spans a while. It starts out with...
I am Iron Man.
And ends with... And that's where we're going to be kind of going. I understand that you have Spider-Man Far From Home, and we will talk about that at the end of the end game, and as it is at the end of phase 4 before we move into phase 5. If you're looking to find out more about What If, Loki, WandaVision, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Shang-Chi, all these shows and movies coming out as we're recording these, we don't cover them yet. We may do a specialty episode at the end of this 8 YouTube episode run and then talk about this next phase of Marvel, because me and Brandon are very, very locked in. If you listen to the podcast and you're up to date with episodes 30, 31, when this episode comes out, 31 should be out as well, then you understand that we talk about almost all of them at the beginning of every episode. We call it the Marvel Minute. Ends up becoming a little bit more than a minute. But anyways, we talk about these shows moving forward in great length. But for this 4-episode run, they weren't out yet, so we won't cover them just yet. So for this, we're going to start with Captain America.
Hey! Let's hear it for Captain America!
Now, the first movie that came out was Iron Man. That came out in conjunction with the Hulk. But because of licensing rights, which we will get into whenever we talk about episode 16, and switching out from characters, Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo, they don't really consider it MCU. The only things that really stayed with it, I think there's 2 things. Well, now 3, because Abomination just appeared in Shang-Chi, but you have Thunderbolt Ross, and you're going to get his band of Thunderbolts together as we move forward. And there was another one, and I don't know off the top of my head, so forgive me for that. If you're a big Marvel fan, I'm sure you're screaming it at the screen right now, but I can't remember it right now. It's not necessarily important for this episode. I'll get back to it moving forward. They don't consider it. So for Marvel, if you go on Disney Plus, you go to the Marvel page, you follow all of the Marvel shows, you'll see that it's Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor. Or you can go down and scroll down. Now they have available the timeline that goes in order, and they start with Captain America because that happened first. This happens during the 1940s, during World War II, and this is the introduction of the super soldier serum, which allows some humans to be stronger and actually compete with some of these extraterrestrial threats that are from the outside. Now, I know Tony does it his way and Hulk does it his way, but the super soldier serum becomes integral inside the MCU, considering what it does for Dr. Zemo. You have all the things that happened during Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier, whatever you want to call it now. And it plays a big part moving forward. And they talk about Carl Erskine. Well, Carl Erskine is the doctor that picks out Steve Rogers and gives him the super soldier serum. He becomes big in as the lore of the MCU. You also have appearing here Bucky Barnes, who becomes the Winter Soldier moving forward. Obviously doesn't have his arm quite yet, or he's not really a part of it yet, but this shows you him and his relationship with Steve Rogers, which is important later whenever we get to the Winter Soldier and Civil War, so on and so forth in the MCU. This also introduces Peggy Carter, who is the great aunt of Sharon Carter. Peggy Carter is, of course, the love interest of Steve Rogers, who at the end of Endgame travels back in time to marry and live his life with. Sharon Carter is a big part of the Captain America, our Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and she's going to be a big part of the MCU moving forward. You get to meet Peggy Carter here. There is a little short clip now, or there was a little short video that was released after Captain America called Agent Carter, which is a lot of fun if you want to go check that out as well. The next movie in the timeline is Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel obviously was released during Phase 3, but timeline-wise, during the 90s, Captain Marvel, all that went down, and this gets to show you Nick Fury figuring out that the world is a little bit bigger than he thought it was, and there's so much more to this universe than he ever thought. He was already a part of what is considered S.H.I.E.L.D., but then this helps him expand upon it and build it more because he understands the threat that is building around him that he has no control of, or Earth has no chance of destroying or even taking on at all, unless they start to build a group of extraordinary individuals, which again leads us to a few years down the line, maybe 10 years or so. I'm trying to remember when the Iron Man series happened. Him investigating into his big week, which was Iron Man. Then you have Hulk, and you have Thor's shield appearing. And then, of course, Captain America's waking up. So all of them are kind of all happening at once. They did release a comic book series, which is considered canon, called Fury's Big Week, where the 4 big Avengers got together. He already had Hawkeye. He already had Scarlett Johansson's character, the Black Widow, working for him, Natasha Romanoff, working under his belt. And then you had those 2 with Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. Those are your big 6 Avengers. Again, Captain Marvel is in contact with him too, but we don't know that at this time. We don't know anything about what's going on with Captain Marvel at this time because she is off doing things in outer space, protecting the world, other worlds, and doing other crazy things, or in Secret Invasions. We just know that she's out in space trying to protect people and right wrongs. She doesn't really spend a whole lot of time on Earth. The Captain Marvel movie also introduces to us the Monica Rambeau, obviously her mom first, but then her daughter, the young girl in Captain Marvel, is Monica Rambeau. Again, during WandaVision, we get to see her become Spectrum.
Only if you learn to blow.
And you are the most powerful person I know.
Your mom, she died.
Truly an inspiration.
Your mom's lucky. When they were handing out kids, they gave her the toughest one.
She does meet the Skrull, who are also introduced in this movie, and they will both become big parts of the MCU moving forward. Monica Rambeau obviously joining up with them, probably again for Secret Invasions. We're going to find out a lot more of that moving forward. Agent Coulson's introduced. If you're an MCU fan, you know who he is. He doesn't really do a lot moving forward from where we're at today, but for the series, he's a big part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and of course, dies in the Avenger, taking on Loki. He is a really, really beloved character, and this is kind of where he gets started. He was a rookie at the time with Nick Fury to the time of this movie. Then you have Iron Man and Iron Man 2. Well, Hulk in the middle of it, but we talked about that already. And, Iron Man, of course, introduces Rhodes as Terrence Howard at the time, replaced by Don Cheadle for Iron Man 2. In episode 16 of the podcast, we get into that a little bit more if you want to go listen to that one. Iron Man 2 introduces one of my favorite scenes of all time, where he gets to meet Natasha Romanoff for the first time, introducing Black Widow.
What's your name, lady?
Rushman, Natalie Rushman.
Front and center. Come into the church.
No, you're seriously not gonna
If it
ask
pleases
her.
the court, which it does.
It's no problem. I'm sorry, he's very eccentric.
What?
And Iron Man's obviously introduced the Iron Mans in a lot of what we have moving forward. And just to backtrack real quick, Captain America also introduces the Tesseract, but I think it was believed. They don't know it's an Infinity Stone at the time. They talk about them in Thor. They also have another Infinity Stone in there. And then we start to get glimpses or at least peeks and teasers into what the MCU for the first saga is going to be about. And during Iron Man, we really just get to see what Tony Stark is about, because his arc is almost as important as the Infinity Stone arc throughout the core of that saga. Same with Steve Rogers. They play such an integral part. They are the two main pieces. That's why everyone knows Captain America and Iron Man as they move forward. The rest of the characters are big, but not as big as those two and the Infinity Stones. Iron Man, again, you get to see War Machine becoming War Machine. You get to see him become a little bit more human in his journey, building him. They talk about it in What If. He needs those things to become who he becomes whenever he saves the world at the very end. Following that, we get to see Thor.
Please.
And Thor, again, like Iron Man, like Tony Stark, really needs what happens to him to happen to him, to be banished, to have to find someone he cares about, to have to actually fight for something that he cares about, as opposed to just conquering and having a good time. As we see again in What If, as the party Thor enters the building, it's because he doesn't have Loki to kind of humble him. He doesn't have Odin to humble him in a lot of ways. So Thor becomes a little bit more reckless. Again, this is what Marvel with the What If and with their series kind of shows you. Even before What If, they tell you it a little bit, and then they kind of solidify that with the What If episodes. But for the show, Thor needs to be banished. He needs to be humbled. If you really want to deeper dive into these movies, we do get into it fairly deep. And my brother Bryson actually calls in on this episode and gives his piece about it as well. But this series, this first Avengers, was they build together. This is them becoming a collective and understanding that the world is a little bit bigger. In the Avengers movie, obviously you get to see the Chitauri, who is the army of Thanos. Thor, Loki, you get to see him be what he kind of is not really necessarily a villain, but not necessarily a good guy. He wants to conquer, he wants chaos, and we get to see his relationship with Thor evolve a little bit more. We also get to see the relationship between Iron Man and Captain America become tumultuous and then work together because they understand what the greater good is. The Avengers movie, I remember being huge when it came out. This is also the introduction of Thanos. They show Thanos at the very end. It's not James Brolin at the time. It doesn't really look like him or sound like him, but they do show this scene from Thanos.
They are not the cowering wretches we were promised. They stand. They are unruly and therefore cannot be ruled. To challenge them is to court death.
And that is the collection or a brief synopsis of what episode 15 is about. The first half of it, the second half of it, I'm hoping to have Brandon in, add a little bit more dialogue, show you guys a little bit more clips. We really love the MCU, so maybe this gives you a little bit of interest in the MCU. It also allowed me to expand upon my editing skills, to add those videos, to learn how to do that. A lot of this stuff was so new to me, I didn't know how to do most of it, and to force myself to do it has been a treat and a fun journey so far. Hope you guys stick around to see how this continues to grow and get better, and what we do with it moving forward. I have a lot of ideas to evolve the show whenever we get on better schedules and as I learn how to do this a little bit better. That was episode 15. I already played the opener for you at the beginning. We will play a little bit more of, I'll find something for you in the next episode on YouTube. I don't want to make these too long, so I'm going to get out of here. Go listen to the podcast, follow that link down below to go to the Anchor page, or again, easy. justareyes.com. You can find everything as far as what I'm creating on there. You can find the podcast. You can find this YouTube channel. You can find Pod Hacks, my baseball podcast. You can also find Pod Hacks, my YouTube side of that baseball, which is going to get a very, very fun revamp and twist coming in December or January. I haven't decided yet. But there's a lot of good things happening moving forward as far as Just A Reyes Media. Thank you guys again for listening. Give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and can't wait to talk to you soon.